It's time for another voiceover. And today I made Thanksgiving dinner. But I did this by shopping at Aldi's and taking them up on their $40 special. For Thanksgiving, it feeds a family of 10. Now, I did do some modifications because I don't have a family of 10, and then some things they had on there we just don't eat. But here I am at Aldi's. You see, my total came up to $39.06. And I'm going to go ahead and insert the list that they have online of all of the ingredients that's included in their $40 Thanksgiving meal. And along the way, I'm going to show you what I modified, what I switched out, what I did use, how I used it, and all that good stuff. And here's that list right here. So first, we're going to start off with this green bean casserole. I have never made it, so when I researched some of the ingredients, I saw that one of the main ingredients was pork. So I went ahead and just grabbed some ground pork sausage to add to my variation of a green bean casserole. So we have some onions, which is also included on the list that I minced up, that we're going to saute. Once that comes to a nice translucent look on the onions, we're going to go ahead and add our ground sausage, which I also ground up beforehand. Then we're going to go ahead and season everything up. Just use whatever seasonings you have on hand. I didn't buy any seasonings with my order because it would have taken away from the total being over $40. So now we're going to go ahead and mix everything up until it is well incorporated. And then we're going to go ahead and use that cream of mushroom soup, which is also on the list. I was a little hesitant about this because I do not do mushrooms, but I know that it just kind of has that mushroom flavor, so I kind of overlooked that for the sake of this video. There's also evaporated milk on the list, and that is also to be used in the green bean casserole. And so I went ahead and incorporated that into that mixture. And then they also have 2 cans of green beans, but I want it frozen. I wanted them to be as fresh as possible, and frozen is always fresher to me instead of the canned green beans. So I used 2 packs of the frozen green beans. And then we're going to go ahead, mix all of that together, and then we're going to add some more of that cream of mushroom soup, and then more of that evaporated milk because you want it to come out looking creamy like this right here. After you've achieved the consistency that you want, I went ahead and added a block of cheese to my list. It wasn't on there because I knew I wanted to add it on top of my mac and cheese, and I wanted to add it to my green bean casserole. So I went ahead and shredded the mozzarella cheese, added it on the top of that green bean casserole, but I saved a good bit of it because I need to use the rest of that 1 block of cheese later on. Then we're going to go ahead and top it with the French onions, which is also on the list as well. Once you have enough French onions on top of your green bean casserole, we're going to go ahead, pop that in the oven, and there we go. Now we're going to move on to the mac and cheese. They had shells and cheese, but I chose the Kraft looking like cheese because I just wanted a different noodle. I didn't want the shells. And then I'm going to make my own roux. I went off script. I went ahead and I bought some butter that I added on my list, which is not on their list as well. And then I used the rest of that evaporated milk and then some more of that shredded cheese that I reserved from earlier to make my own roux / bechamel / cheese sauce, whatever you want to call it. After making this mac and cheese, well, really, after making several pans of mac and cheese, I have come to the conclusion that I cannot make mac and cheese. Like, I hear, oh, the flavors are good, or, oh, it looks good, but to me, like, I'm not feeling it. Like, it's not reading creamy. It's not reading, lusciousness whenever it comes to me making macaroni and cheese. And I think this is the mistake right here, is that I add an egg in the noodles, and I think that might make the roux and the cheese sauce kind of stiffen up. In a sense, I'm not sure, but whatever, potatoes. My household tore it up, and sometimes I'm just a little more critical on myself. So now we're going to take the rest of that cheese that we have left. It was a little bit, like I stretched the heck out of that 1 little pound of cheese. We're going to top it on top of our mac and cheese and pop it in the oven right next to our green bean casserole. Moving right along, we're going to start on our stuffing. So they did have celery on the list along with the bag of onions. So I am still utilizing the onions that was on the list. We want to saute both of those until they are translucent, and then I'm going to remove them from the pan. And then we're going to begin to measure our chicken stock, which was also on the list as well. We don't want to use all of the chicken stock because we do need to reserve some of this for later for our gravy. Now we're going to use that same pan that we grilled our onions and celery in, and we're going to add our chicken stock to that pan, some butter, which I added to the list. And then I chose the chicken stuffing, which was also on the list. They had the option of choosing between chicken stuffing or cornbread stuffing, and I chose the chicken stuffing. So we're going to just go ahead, make that like the directions say, but then I added in those celery and onions that we grilled earlier. Then we're going to mix it up, and then we're going to add in some more of that sausage that I reserved from the green bean casserole earlier, and we're going to add that to our stuffing. I just wanted to elevate it and make it a little, give it some more pizzazz. Then I wanted to put that in the oven to give it a nice crisp, and look at her. Mac and cheese, which is, it's mackin', y'all. I'm telling you, it's mackin'. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the turkey. So on the list, you can get a 14-pound Jenny O turkey. 14 pounds is astronomical. Like, it's only 5 of us. We barely like turkey as it is, so I opted to get the bone-in turkey breast. So it's less. It was only about 8 pounds, I believe, and that was suitable for my family and our size. Again, I modified this list to fit our, taste buds and what we do like, and I still stayed under that $40 mark. So I am here, what am I doing? I am making a compo for the turkey breast. We had some butter, a whole bunch of seasonings, and then we're going to go ahead and take that butter compo and rub inside up underneath the turkey skin. We're going to make sure and get him nice and lathered up. He's very ashy. We don't want him to be ashy. We want to have that extra flavor whenever this turkey is done. Make sure you flip him over, make sure you lather him inside out, like every crevice should be dripping. Did I mention this was my first time ever making a turkey? Yeah, my very, very first time. And I decided to do it in my Instapot because I felt like that would lock in more of the flavors and juices since I do have just the turkey breast and that can tend to dry out. And I didn't use any injections because I was on a budget. After you lathered him up, you want to go ahead and season him generously. Why am I calling him a him? Maybe I should call her a her. Or are we all inclusive around here? Whatever, we want to go ahead and season it generously. And then I went ahead and cut up some onions, some carrots, some celery, and some, is that rosemary or thyme? It's one of those herbs that I already had on hand. Put that in the bottom of our stock pot of our Instapot, and then we're going to use some more of that chicken broth, still save some of it. No, I used all of it actually, and we put that inside that Instapot, and I put the turkey on top, which I didn't get on camera. I'm so sorry, y'all. And then we're going to pressure cook that thing for about 40 minutes. Now, while that's cooking, it did have baby carrots on the list, so I used my steamer and I just went ahead, put them in there, seasoned them up with some butter and whatever seasonings that you have on hand. And we're going to go ahead and steam this in my rice cooker for about 12 minutes. Simple, easy peasy, lemon breezy. After about 12 minutes, they're going to come out looking like so. I almost substituted this because we don't eat carrots like that either. And then mashed potatoes. They had a 10-pound bag of russet potatoes that you could use to make your own mashed potatoes, but I wasn't doing all of that, so I went ahead and substituted that for the already made pop-in-the-oven mashed potatoes. Then they had a 5-pound bag of sweet potatoes so that you can make your own yams. I went ahead and boiled my yams first, just a little bit until they were about al dente. Then we're going to use some of that same water and we're going to add it to that pan. And then we're also going to add some vanilla, which I had on hand, some brown sugar, which I added to my list. It was not on their list. That was a modification. Some cinnamon, which I also had on hand, and some more of that butter that I added to my list. That was not on their list. We're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and give it a stir, then pop it back in the oven until you get the viscosity that you want. I learned that in culinary class. Look it up. Next, we're going to move on to the Hawaiian rolls, which was also on their list, but I kicked it up a notch by adding some butter garlic to the top and putting it in the oven. The butter was left over from what I got from that pound that I added onto my list. We're going to go ahead, pop those in the oven for a few minutes, take them out. Pretty simple. Now we're going to move on to our turkey breast. After about 40 minutes of it being in a pressure cooker, we're going to let it self-release for about 10 minutes. Well, I did 16 minutes, as you see, and then we're going to go ahead and release the rest of that pressure manually. Once all of the pressure has been released, we're going to open it up, and she is looking a little pale, as you can see. But we're going to check the temperature, make sure everything is cooked fully, and you should have a temperature of at least 165 for poultry. After we take it out of the Instapot, I went ahead and transferred it to another pan, and I basted it with the juices that fell at the bottom every 15 minutes. And look at this, y'all. I put it in the broiler, and this was the end result. It came out so good, so succulent. Now, while she was resting, we're going to go ahead and start on this gravy. The list included, I think, 3 packs of gravy, but I only got one because I made a homemade gravy. I used some of the dripping from the turkey breast, and then I added it to the pack of gravy with one cup of cold water. And then I just kept mixing that until you got the thickness that you wanted. Next, we're going to move on to the apple crumb. I substituted this out for the pumpkin puree in the pie shells that they had, because we do not eat pumpkin pie. So I wanted to make something different, and I went ahead and got a bag of green apples that I added to the list, and then I used that brown sugar that I had added to the list as well, and some cinnamon and a little bit of salt, and I greased the baking dish and mixed up those apples really good, and I could have ate this just like this. It was so good, just like that. We're going to go ahead, add it to our greased baking dish, and then we're going to start on our apple crumb or our crumb. We have some flour, which I already had on hand, brown sugar from what I added to the list, and the last bit of butter, y'all. I stretched this butter till I couldn't stretch it anymore. And then I added some cinnamon, and then we're going to mix it up until you get like this sandy type mixture, and then we're going to top it we're going to put it on top of that apple mixture there, pop it in the oven until it comes out looking nice and ooey and gooey like this right here. Overall, I think I did a wonderful job. It took, the average amount of time that it would take to make a dinner such as this, but it was a very good budget. This was my first time even shopping at Aldi's, and I thoroughly enjoyed my experience. I loved this challenge, and even though I went off script, I still stayed under that $40 budget, and we had plenty for my family of 4. Like, we ate on this, you know how we do. We gonna eat on this for about 3-4 days. I'm gonna come up with different ways to eat it, different ways to eat the turkey, different sides, all of that good stuff. But overall, if you're up for a challenge or if you're looking for a budget-friendly meal, I highly, highly recommend going to Aldi's and getting this $40 Thanksgiving meal for a family of 10. You can go and shop the exact items that they have on a list. You will have to add a few things to it or things that you might already have on hand. Or you can just go off script and do your own thing and totally modify it however you want. Just to make sure to take into account the extra items such as eggs, butter, milk, certain little spices, things like that aren't on the list. But these are essential items that you should already have on hand. Enjoy!